service to his country, for exemplary conduct under fire, for wounds received as a result of action against the enemy, the Order of the Purple Heart is awarded to...
From bases all over the world, from level green airstrips in England, from runways hacked out of solid jungle, from strips of sun-baked coral in the islands of the Pacific, from Belgium and France and Guam and Kwajalein, and one of the costliest pieces of real estate in the world, Iwo Jima, the fighter planes of our Army Air Forces rise daily to fly their missions of death and destruction over enemy territory. That's the sound they make, these pea shooters of the Air Force, as they whip by overhead. They're the planes that fly escort for our big bombers, the planes that strafe and dive bomb enemy lines of supply and communication, that machine gun enemy troops, that sink or set fire to their ships, their harbors and warehouses and cities. This is the job of the fighter planes of the Air Force, tactical support of the big bombers in cooperation with movement of the ground armies. Our story tonight is about one of these fighter pilots. It's a story that begins on a flight strip, a fighter base outside of Paris. On the runway, 4 P-47s are warming up. A young pilot is checking over his plane with his crew chief.
How's she look, Tony? Looks good, Chief. I took care of that cylinder head you told me about. Changed one of the valves, and she sounds like $1 million.
All set, eh?
Gassed up, guns loaded, purring like a cat, and raring to go.
Good boy, Tony. You're the best darn crew chief I've ever had.
Thanks, Chief. This plane is as much mine as it is yours, and I try to take care of it. It's a pleasure, too. You're not like the other pilots.
What do you mean?
Ah, you know. I mean those hotshot guys who always come back with their plane looking like a soup strainer. You're different. You know how we guys feel about our planes. You don't take unnecessary chances.
Well, I wouldn't blame the pilots, Tony. They don't run into enemy opposition just for the fun of it. Here, help me with this chute, will you?
Sure. Well, I guess you're right, but...
You're sure the radio's okay?
Yeah, I checked it myself. As I was saying, you're different.
There's a flash from the control tower. Full of chops, Tony.
Where's it today, Lieutenant?
Belgium. Strafing the Jerry retreat.
Lots of luck, sir. Happy hunting.
Thanks, Tony. See you later.
And don't take foolish chances and get our ship all banged up.
Don't worry, Tony. I'll treat her right.
Giving his ship full throttle, Lieutenant John Leo Barth from Willard, Utah, rode the thundering 47 down the runway and vaulted into the air. He swung into formation and flew right wing for his CO. Things were dull for the most part, a few minor strafing jobs, and then a search for something else. Things didn't brighten any until the CO spotted 4 trucks streaking along a highway far below. Johnny and his leader went down to take a look, the other 2 planes remaining high for cover. There were 4 trucks, all right. Only 2 of them bore the distinctive Red Cross insignia. Yeah, the Germans were playing it smart, they thought. A Red Cross truck, 2 regular Army vehicles, and then another Red Cross truck. But it didn't work. The CO opened up, and Johnny followed suit. The German trucks, sandwiched in between the protective Red Cross cars, burst into flame. Yeah, carried ammunition. The American pilots expended it for them without even so much as a scratch to the emblems of international mercy on either side. Circling back into formation, the 4 planes continued their search for enemy targets. Time passed. Getting close to that time when they must return to base. Plenty of ammunition left, but gas was running short. And then, the high spot of the day.
Leader to flight. Something down below worth investigating.
What is it, Chief?
Looks like a couple of trucks badly hidden. If they think enough of them to hide them, they've got something we want.
Okay. How we do it this time?
Same as before. You follow me in, Johnny. I'll take the one on the left, you pick off the one on the right. Joe, you and Murph stand by for cover. Let's go, Johnny.
2 sleek thunderbolts peel off and dive toward the trucks below. Johnny watches the CO out ahead. Chief's guns are harmonized for 300 yards, and at that distance form a 6-foot cone of fires. Johnny knew why his chief was waiting. When he did open up, it would mean something. Yes, sir, it did. One short burst from 850 caliber machine guns drew a straight line from plane to ground, and the German trucks disappeared in the sheet of flame. Johnny smiled as the leader banked away to the left. That was mighty good shooting. Now it was his turn. The path was clear ahead. Johnny opened up at 400 yards. He saw tracers pile into the victim. Clouds of dust sprang up, but no explosion followed. Another burst. Still nothing happened. Johnny kept on firing burst after burst, get home. Then, well, he had to stop. It was time to pull out. Johnny was disappointed. He got her leveled out. Then he saw it, a licking flame beneath the truck. At barely 40 feet above the ground, 400 miles per hour, Johnny passed over his target and the truck exploded. Johnny's plane bounced skyward, whipped over on the left wing, careened about dangerously close to the ground. Johnny's hand was quick on the controls, and he rolled her slowly back to level flight. Yeah, it was a close call, but he made it. He turned to join his comrades for the flight back to base. He didn't know till later just how lucky he'd been. It was while he was talking things over with the combat intelligence officer sometime later.
Guess that about tells the story, Captain. We got him. The CO took care of his in a single burst. I've never seen him better. It took me a little longer, but I'll swear the explosion was just as big when it did come.
It was good work, Johnny, and I think you'll have a couple of days' rest because of it.
Rest? I don't get it.
They tell me your plane's been grounded for a complete overhaul.
Well, that's silly. There's nothing wrong that Tony can't...
Seems it's pretty well chopped up.
But we didn't run into any flak or fighter opposition.
Maybe your crew chief can explain it for you.
By golly, he'd better. Tony. Oh, it's you, Chief. Yeah. What's all this nonsense about
You
me
went
being-
and did it, didn't you?
Did what?
You couldn't take it nice and easy, strafe a couple of targets and come back in one piece. No. You had to do it the hard way, like a hot shot.
Wait a minute, Tony. I don't get it. What are you driving at?
Look at our airplane. Golly, just a couple of hours ago, there wasn't a scratch on her. Now there's that hole through the prop, 3 holes in the prop boot. The wings are riddled, the fuselage is one mass of holes, and we'll need a new elevator.
My gosh. That must have happened when the truck exploded.
And this I've been saving special. I want you to have this, a 20-millimeter shell case. You brought it home in the underside of your left wing.
I'll be doggone.
Lieutenant, don't ever fly like that again. Stay off the ground while you're strafing, will you? Now, friends, we'd like you to meet the central character in tonight's story. First Lieutenant John Leo Barth, 9th Air Force fighter pilot from Willard, Utah. Lieutenant Barth, it seems you took quite a lecturing from your crew chief for the damage to your plane.
Yes, he was pretty upset. Mechanics are that way, though. They love the planes they work on, and they won't let you misuse them.
Would you tell us a little more about your overseas experience? How about the time you were injured?
I don't think you'll find anything dramatic in that. It happened one morning as another officer and I were walking out to the flight strip. My companion stepped on a German landmine which had gone undetected. The blast wounded us both.
And as a result, you were returned to the States?
Yes, we were flown from Paris to England, and from there we came by boat to the United States.
When did this accident occur, Johnny?
On September the 6th of last year.
And you returned to the States how soon after that?
Well, there were several stops on the way. England, Haller and General Hospital in New York, and finally Bushnell on the 19th of last December.
It must have seemed like an anticlimax to fly such a mission as the one described tonight and then be wounded while walking across a field.
It not only was an anticlimax, it was plain disgusting.
Johnny, I wonder if you'd tell our listeners that humorous bit you told us about this afternoon.
About the 2 boys flying between the cloud layers?
Yes, would you?
Well, one day when we were on a routine fighter sweep, our flight got tangled up in a lot of clouds. 2 of the fellows were flying wing to wing and flew into a cloud bank. When they came out the other side, they were still flying wing to wing, but one of them had rolled over and was flying on his back. There were clouds above and below, so you couldn't tell where the ground was.
So?
They just continued to fly that way, one right side up and the other on his back, until they were able to determine which one of them was wrong.
I like that story. I can just see it happening.
I don't think they got much kick out of it.
No, I don't imagine so. By the way, Johnny, what's the greatest number of missions flown by your squadron in one day?
Either 14 or 16, I can't remember which.
That's a lot of missions. When did this happen?
Around the 28th of July, shortly after the St. Lo breakthrough. There were plenty of targets.
I know, but 16 missions.
We didn't have much time to sit around that day. We'd sit down, turn our plane over to the crew chief, report to intelligence, grab a bite to eat, and take off again. The whole thing only took about 35 minutes between flights.
Well, that meant fast work for the mechanics, didn't it?
It really did. I don't like to keep harping on it, but your ATSC ground crews over there don't waste time. During that 35 minutes, they gas our planes, reload with ammunition and bombs, change guns, and make minor repairs. Boy, they were crackerjacks.
Well, that's the sort of thing we like to hear, Johnny. I guess we keep them flying really is more than just a slogan.
If the boys I saw in combat are examples, it certainly is.
Say, I have something here I'd like to read to you before our time is up.
Shoot.
It's a wire from the mayor of your hometown, and it says, "We feel very proud and happy to have as one of our citizens such a splendid example of American manhood as Lieutenant John Leo Barth. His loyalty to his country, his high ideals, his courage and cheerfulness in time of adversity will always be an inspiration to us." That's signed by L.C. Brunker, mayor of Willard City, Utah.
That's awfully nice of Mr. Brunker and the folks in Willard. I'll be down there soon, and I'll sure give them my personal thanks when I do.
And our thanks to you, Lieutenant John Leo Barth, for being a guest on our program tonight. Good night and the very best of luck to you.